Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Memento Futurum podcast. This is Vanessa, your host, and today we're talking with Liana. Liana Naima is a beloved spiritual wellness practitioner and retreat leader specializing in mindfulness meditation, energy healing, and breath work. As a gifted intuitive, she integrates ancient and modern techniques for heart centered transformations of the mind, body, and spirit, for soul remembrance, liberation, and play. She has a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy from Bryn Mawr College, a Master in Education from Hunter College, and she is a certified mindfulness teacher, trauma-informed breathworker, white light Reiki master, and vortex healing practitioner, drawing from nearly a decade of holistic studies. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. It's such an honor to be here with you today. I've long been an admirer of your work. So I'm just so excited to be in conversation with you. Yeah.
Yeah, likewise. Long time admirer. I think we've been in contact maybe for like 8 years. I don't know, somewhere around this point.
Oh,
And
yeah.
your writing is always something that draws me in. And the way that you speak. And I think the thing I want to say here is that your writing has this effect on me where I'll go, wow, I need, like, first of all, every time you post something, it's like, I needed that. So you have this signature for messages that I need in real time. So thank you for that. But yeah, there's this really amazing quality of getting to the core of things. It's very heart centered and really like dialing into these energetic signatures that I think that humans feel. Like it just feels very humanitarian. I don't
Mhm.
know if there's probably better words, but that's the one that I feel right now. Um,
Yeah, no, I love and appreciate that. I do think my writing shows just a real love for humanity. Like, I love the human experience. I love life. I love the waves. I feel like my own existence is a very embodied, like felt experience. And I really want my writing to be felt, if nothing. I want people to feel, when they're in that space, that they have to slow down, they have to digest, because we're
mhm.
constantly consuming so much in this reality that just being hit with something that I consider a form of art is like, wait, let me actually process what just happened.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I hope it feels good.
No, it always feels amazing. When you say felt experience, I would love to hear you expand on how that could take form or what that means to you.
Yeah, so I so my sun sign is Cancer.
Hmm.
My moon, Venus, and Mars are in Leo.
Nice.
So I have a lot of like fiery water energy in my chart. And this existence for me is about a really pleasure-filled existence in some ways. Like I love to feel deeply, deeply, deeply. I love to feel. And I am always touching every single emotion that I may be going through throughout the day, also with the understanding that it's impermanent, also with the understanding that it's coming and going. So I try to really live my day from an embodied perspective of like, I can feel this completely and I can let it go. I'm also an educator by training. So every day I'm around, over 60 teenagers as their main teacher, and
Wow.
I have to be present. I have to have empathy and compassion for this young person that's in front of me, and then another person, and then another person. So that kind of creates its own like energetic playground. Being an
Hmm.
educator is like, how am I meeting you with love? How am I feeling what you're feeling and allowing you to be in process? So my work is just, it's all about being present, present to feel, present to enjoy. All of the colors, all of the colors are worthy, our anger, our sadness, our resentment, our frustration, our joy, our bliss.
Hmm.
I really love the coloring box that is being a human.
Mm. Wow. I love the way you said that. Um, I was inspired when you were speaking about your students and the experience that you have with being a teacher to ask about, you know, from your perspective, what is it? Because I was a teenager, yeah, but I don't know that I am, I can reflect back, but asking someone who works with that phase of life, what do you think is maybe a core teaching that they show you? Yeah, I'll just ask that question. What is a core teaching that you feel like they're showing you?
Without a doubt, love. Like
Mm,
without a doubt. I have constantly, every single day, I'm trying to love my students more. I'm trying to create a space in which they feel comfortable to be themselves, to share their voice, to really allow themselves to be themselves completely in the classroom space. And that involves me loving them as they are so they can express themselves fully.
wow.
Um, I have been an educator for over 10 years. I'm a special educator in New York City. I teach high school, English and social studies. And, hundreds of young folks have come in and out of my life, but every single one of them have taught me the parts of my heart in which I've been holding back love, in which I've been projecting onto them, and they've been projecting onto me. It's this really, really deep work of creating a beloved space for them to exist within. I always feel like at the end of the school day, I always feel like crumbles. I always feel like a part of me is this crumbled up in some way after some school days that are really hard
Mm,
because I'm able to see like where was I being rough, with my words? Where was I being short? Where was I not being as soft as I could have been with that student? Because the best advice I was ever given as an educator is the love that they experience from you as a teacher may be the only love that they get in their entire life.
mm,
So it sounds, it's I think love has a lot of like cliche connotations, but for me, it's like a form of activism, is like choosing to love these kids as much as I can. And it's not easy and it's exhausting and it's hard.
mhm.
But I want them to feel safe. Um, yeah.
Wow. They're so lucky to have you. Like, what a blessing. Yeah, I'm just feeling into that part of at least myself as a teenager that was emotionally all over the place, and the amount of grace it took probably from my parents and people around me to support that. Um, the part that you said just a moment ago about like all of the emotions coming through and feeling them all, and then knowing that you can release them, like that. For me as a teen, as an adult, I'm getting that more so now. Still finessing that process, but I don't know. That's just like really, it's really inspired me what you're sharing here, to think about that phase of life. And I'm saying that because I feel like there's a lot of things I think that get stuck in the teenage years, and then bringing it into adulthood, I think can sometimes take a lifetime. Because it connects, it's the phase of life that's connecting the younger childhood years and into adulthood. I don't know. I'm seeing it as a bridge. Um,
Yeah, it's a bridge that a lot of people don't think about. We tend to think about, us as children, but not so much our teenage selves and what our teenage selves are craving.
mhm,
Typically belonging, typically community, typically an
mhm,
adult seeing them.
mm,
So yeah, um,
mhm,
love is the only bottomless emotion. I talk about that pretty often in my writing, but I think love is truly the only emotion worth ruminating on and sinking into, is that compassion, that grace of choosing love, choosing to love myself more, my community more every single day. And every single day I have learned something else from it,
mm,
to the fact that the point that it's like emptied me in some ways. Like I feel just so, open, because even when I find myself like hardening or wanting to get resentful or in like a negative state, just fall into compassion, just fall into the grace that's here.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, from your perspective, how do we get there? Like what's the obstacle? Why is compassion hard sometimes?
Yeah, it's hard because it's, you know Dr. Kristen Neff talks really beautifully about it. She's like the expert on self-compassion, and she talks about it requiring kindness, it requiring mindfulness, it requiring us acknowledging our own shared humanity. And I think the part that a lot of people get stuck on is the valuing of the kindness that it requires, the valuing of I have to be kind to myself as an act.
Mm,
It isn't something to brush over. It isn't something that's natural because we've been indoctrinated, and really subconsciously indoctrinated into self-hatred,
mm,
especially as women, of our bodies, our hair, our complexion. It's like it's endless, like the things we can nitpick.
mm,
But in choosing to get out of these sort of external vanity, ways of disliking ourselves and getting out of the nonsense, that it's really all there is. It's the ground of our consciousness, is like, how can I be compassionate within this mind to just sink and sink and sink into endless kindness for myself? So it's surrender work. It's
mm,
really witnessing the noise as noise, and choosing internally, when you close your eyes, love.
mm,
Um, yeah.
mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, surrender work. I imagine ego like having so much, to do with that and the programming. And the other thing that I was hearing too when you were speaking is like how I heard someone say this not too long ago, and I think that I might have brought it up on another episode, but like it's like kind of stuck in my head around like, oh, I wasn't gonna say hi to like my neighbor just because it's like not cool, or like they thought it was like kind of like it's feels awkward for them. Maybe I think the word that they might have used was like even nerdy, and I was like it was just like it struck me. I was like, oh, like, of course I would say hi to my neighbor. Like, hi, you're my neighbor. We live here together.
Yeah.
um, but it's interesting because it's like, and that's so, those were the kinds of things that I heard like in the teenage sphere, like in those years for me. And when I heard it, and it was an adult who said it, and there's no judgment, but I was like, whoa, like I wonder. I'm not saying that this is, but is that something that was like received like as a social thing? Like there's these certain social things that could happen that's like, oh, that's not cool to do that, or like, like I'm not gonna be overly friendly because I don't want to appear this way or that way. Like I don't know these things. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I think there's this aspect of wanting to maintain an appearance and being afraid of projections on you. It is definitely like ego work, like over identifying with our identities. And yeah, I've done a tremendous amount of work when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a Vipassana, which is like over 100 hours of meditating in 10 days. I've worked with like some of the most powerful plant medicines on the planet, including like a 7-day iboga ceremony. And
Mm-hmm.
I have really purged myself of the need to appear to have it together. And I'm not, I think people may still project that onto me, but I am very comfortable not being self conscious,
Mm,
because there isn't even a self to be conscious of. So it's kind of this weird, trippy thing of like, what
mm-hmm.
are you like? How can a self be self conscious? It's like a weird like mind play.
Mm,
The self only exists in relation to another person. Like I only exist as Liana because I'm talking to Vanessa right now.
mm-hmm.
But when Liana is by herself, this is what I'm talking about with the compassion work. This is what I'm talking about with sitting with yourself. Is
Mm-hmm.
like, how are you allowing the ground of just your presence by yourself to be one of unconditional love and unconditional compassion and
Mm-hmm.
unconditional grace? Because you
Right.
do not need an audience to care for yourself and to be yourself. And saying hi to your neighbor just feels good. It just
Mm-hmm.
feels good. Like, why
Mm-hmm.
can't we just do things just because they feel good?
Mm-hmm.
I I had like a day last week in which I did like a little air punch to my students. Like I put my hand down, they like punched my hand, and it was just the sweetest thing. Like I must have like air punched like 20 students. It was just so cute. And the listeners are probably like, what does that mean? It's like instead of like clapping their hands, like putting your hand in a fist and just touching fists. And it was just so sweet having these 20 strangers just lightly, having that affectionate moment with me.
Hmm.
Um, and it didn't mean anything, but it was beautiful because in that moment, it was just us being grateful for each other. You can just be grateful. You can
Hmm.
just be, it doesn't have to be for anyone else, but for you, but for yourself.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Well, I think that's very powerful, what you're saying. And brightening. It feels like a brightening in my own aura as you're saying it. Like, wow. I'm just so grateful to be hearing words spoken out loud in that way. And I, yeah, just, why does it, you said, why does it have to mean anything? Is that something you
yeah,
said? Mm-hmm.
yeah. It can just be just because, like, you can just do things just because they feel good to do. Saying hi to a stranger or smiling at the sun or breathing in deeper. We're constantly given this invitation through being present to receive, to
Mm-hmm.
be in to be in endless gratitude. Um, I'm just constantly in awe of where gratitude can take us. Yeah. I love hearing the cat in the background too. It's perfect.
She was meowing. I had a moment, had a cough. Yeah, she's a Pisces, so we're in the waters, you know? We're vocalizing the watery things. Um, Something that I understand is that you've done a lot this year,
Yeah.
as
Done a lot
which
this
is
year.
awesome, but also, so, I just wanted to give space for you to ask you about those things and where you've been and travel to.
Whew. Geez, let me think back of all the things I did this year. So in April, I led a women's retreat called Breathe, Box, and Be in Nicaragua. Um, in June, I what did I do in June? Yeah, in June, I led like a panel for Citibank, which was really exciting for Juneteenth. In August, I did a conference, a Trauma in the Soul conference at the Omega Institute. In October, I did a women's weekend retreat at the Omega Institute called the Joy of Life Retreat. So this whole year for me has just been like a lot of really beautiful weekend retreats, like panel experiences, and I just feel like really fortunate to have like these aligned collaborations and opportunities just for people to get out of their homes and to experience being in community is so incredibly important.
Hmm.
Even if it's just for 2 days, it has such a major impact on your system because changing your environment is literally changing the whole space in which you're existing within energetically for transformation to happen a lot more rapidly. So I'm a big fan of retreats. And yeah, this year for me was really about just intentionality, like moving with a lot of intention with my offerings. And thinking into next year, I'm really just feeling into the offerings I want to do with clients and then group offerings.
All of the animals are really excited to hear everything that you're saying. I'm like,
I love
uh,
them.
it's a symphony. Um, oh my gosh, I really wish I was on the East Coast because I'm like I would be going to all of these things, um, and around the world and other places. But if you come out west, obviously, um, yeah, I'm just I'm in awe of the way that it feels like a very like a surge of energy that you've been offering and delivering, and seeing your offerings online and then the writing and everything. I understand you mentioned that this is more of like a surrender moment, or how would you put it?
Yeah, so this season for me, um, I really just want to slow down because I don't think I've been like riding the wave, but I've definitely had like a schedule that's been more packed than I would have liked.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just want to slow down to just metabolize everything that I've done and really, with intentionality, move forward. I am so grateful that I've been in the wellness industry for almost 10 years now. So um, I'm grateful. I'm truly, truly grateful for my clients. I also have a community. So I have a lot of things going on, even in the background, that people don't know about. And I just want to see clearly how I want to express myself in the world, like my voice. I'm really desiring to share more light language, which I know is one of your loves as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Wow.
Um, and I honestly think, like, looking forward, that's the only thing that I want to add to my sharing is like more light language work. So, yeah.
What do you feel with that? Or like, why are you attracted to it now, maybe more so than other times, or?
So I feel more so just the opening that it allows with consciousness. I think light language is really powerful because I personally consider it to be like the language of my soul.
Mm-hmm.
So when I've been, to the depths of my consciousness and doing this work in like non-ordinary states, I'm not speaking in English anymore. I'm speaking in light.
Mm-hmm.
And this language to me feels as natural as speaking in English. And I feel like there's something that happens in my mind in which I'm like fully out of this sort of paradigm in a lot of ways. And I'm allowing my channel to be more open. And I desire sharing it with people because it's their own medicine. I want people to have access to their own medicine as a way of healing with their voice, with singing. It's just such a beautiful, natural way to cleanse your energy field. It's a beautiful way to connect even with your home frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you're like a young or old soul on this planet, light language is really powerful for sensing your home.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's just such a powerful gateway. It opens the doors to different dimensions. Um, I've done like grid work pretty recently with JJ Brighton. I'm not sure if you know who that is, but
I'm not sure.
she's a really gifted light worker, and she did a session for myself and my partner recently. So even like grid work can be done on a really powerful level with light language. And we're in, I think I really hate this language, but I think it's just true. I think we are in a period of like a great awakening and things shifting really quickly on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that light language is going to be its own, opening for a lot of people who, especially people who are very heady. It's just sound is so powerful that way. So.
Mm-hmm. That's oh, I love you're speaking you're speaking my light language. Um my love language. Yeah. So it's interesting with the light language that opened for me in like 2013, and then, it's been a part of my practice for a really long time. Waned and waxed with it in different moments. But what you said around like all of the things, yes. But the one that I was like, yes, was when you said about how it like opens the consciousness and takes you into your home frequency. And that is something that I find really useful in sound work. And I've been in a space of like sound healing expansion with like, a sound bath every weekend, which is just not the dynamic that I've had for a very long time. But when you said great awakening, I was like, yeah, it feels like there's something in the collective that's like speed. I don't know. I'm like, would it be a
Yeah.
velocity? I don't know. There's something. It just feels like a quickening. And I do think a
Mhm.
lot of people are opening different gifts that they have inside themselves very quickly. And light language is, I don't know if I love the word gift, but because I do think it's a thing that we all have access to.
Yeah.
But I don't, so that word gift, anyway, it has its things. But the things that people do, I guess I would put it under the things that people do that others would see as exceptional, but really are invitations, I think, to opening to our own possibilities, and then also help us to share that field of possibility together. So, yeah, I'm curious to hear. your thoughts on collective or the Great Awakening bit that you meant, because I took it one way, but I'm like maybe you have different thoughts on that.
Yeah. Um, so I don't try to see too far ahead. Um, but I think we already see it in people who, everything's just a lot faster. It's just the Great Awakening should really be called like the quickening. It's like
Mm-hmm.
people start meditating and then they start speaking in light language. People
Yeah.
start, yeah, it's literally like I've had like one session with someone who has like never done plant medicine before, did a plant medicine ceremony with me and started just speaking in light language like the whole time. And I was like, oh, this is great. I've had people see past lifetimes during like a first session. I'm like, oh, this is great.
Uh-huh.
And it's ordinary and extraordinary at the same time. I think it's very
Mm-hmm.
important with spiritual work to stay grounded by just thinking this is ordinary because everyone can access
Yeah.
this information. We're all connected to consciousness, we're all connected to the creative energy that is life itself,
Mm-hmm.
and that gives us an access point to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I really have just seen it in my sessions. Like I've seen people like touch pain that is like eons old, like thousands of years old, like start crying from losses that have happened in other lifetimes, and it's just no big deal. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't really talk about it like it's a big deal because it isn't a big deal. It's
Right.
everything is just a part interconnected that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I've found most beautiful in the field, which I know is, the veil is thinning, is I was doing a session once for one of my friends, and um, she started speaking in light language. And I don't normally do this, but I was actually holding her, like holding her from behind, like really allowing her to be in process. And our field started enmeshing. And I've never done that before, like a real enmeshment with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I could feel myself falling into the lifetime that she was at and actually seeing the pain that she was seeing. So that was something that I was like, I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
it was possible to enmesh in someone's field and to see something that's like
Mm-hmm.
beyond time and space.
Wow.
So that's how I know that the Great Awakening is happening, because there's just things you can do with energy healing that I wasn't able to do years ago.
Right.
A part of it is my sensitivity level, but a part of it is without a doubt the veil is really shifting. So yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun, the field right now. It's If you know what you're doing, it's really fun. If you don't know, you can fall through some into some stuff you shouldn't be in. But um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that this part of the conversation with that you said, I want to, the intentionality piece of how you want to be in this period of time and metabolizing the energy to me feels very harmonious with the light language part of this conversation. Just because I feel like these are the types of frequencies that help us to understand, like when there are moments where we're like in a big surge and our energy is maybe more in the public sphere, and then like how do you know how to kind of wane and wax with those energies and bring that illumination outward or more so inward, like that kind of thing. But I'm curious to hear from you, like maybe what does surrender look like to you? How do you feel it? What does liminality mean to you? Yeah.
yeah, I think in being in this period of transition, this liminal space, it's really about honoring the fact that I fortunately have done everything that I could want to do on this planet, have everything that I could want to have,
Mm-hmm.
but now I'm in a space of just being.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really want to feel how good it feels to be obnoxiously, unrealistically present, like so present with everything and everyone, because that's a feel that I feel like very few people even allow themselves to sink into, because we're constantly trying to feel this momentum of do, have,
Right.
create. What does it mean for me to just sit my ass down somewhere and do nothing.
Yeah.
Not even observe the breath, not even try to meditate, just do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Not watch TV, not read a book, do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Not even stare at the sky. You know,
I
it
know.
just sounds so impossible because there's always this aspect of an action behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But what is in that nothingness that is touching infinity, that is touching the boundless, that is touching everything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I really find this liminal space as like the most potent energy of creation because it's carrying everything.
Yeah.
Um, all the potentialities are there if you slow down. Like who knows?
Right.
Who knows what's possible? And one of the earliest I would say like invocations or prayers that I said over my life in doing this work is may my life be better than my imagination.
Mm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
may my life be better than I can imagine. And it has truly unfolded that way.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has been better than I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And that prayer has really held me in this work of allowing myself to surrender, trusting that there is a force, there is a knowing, there is an intuitive knowing of when to act. That if I allow myself to surrender, I will know the exact moment of when I should act, the exact moment of where I want to go through my passions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's very important to know your why, to always stay very close to your why.
Mm-hmm.
And my why for everything that I do is for soul remembrance, is for individual liberation, collective liberation,
Mm-hmm.
and for play. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just fun. I think it's just fun doing this work to I mean I do to
Yeah.
just to peel back layers, to be ecstatic in all of the emotions and to let it out. Um, so knowing my why and having that clear vision allows me to surrender into like, oh, I know who I am, and I have nothing to prove. I have nothing
Mm-hmm.
to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening so clearly to know when it's time to act.
Mm-hmm.
So I just really want to be a better listener of this creative energy within me and around me, within us and around us, to decide like how I want to then create.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we're very bad listeners.
This
So
is, well, I just feel like it's so the magic of a Cancerian person. What you're saying, like, oh yeah, you know, it's really that deep listening.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I just want to honor the elements. I want to honor the elements in all the ways. Um, I did a meditation recently with like the Native American church, and we were staring at the fire for about 14 hours, sitting in a teepee, just staring at the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never stared at a fire that long. And I saw the fire changing forms. I saw it turning into a deer. I saw it turning into animal spirits. And I saw the fire then just turn into ash. And there's something so beautiful about watching the fire, watching the ocean, watching the earth, the trees, like seeing life going through its cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not honored my cycles in the past, and Scorpio season for me is definitely like a big decay season.
Mm-hmm.
It's a season where my dreams become very shadowy, very dark, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's surrender into this being a part of it. Um, into death being a part of it, into witnessing, the shadows completely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've spent a lot of my life in the shadows. I'm from New Orleans, a very shadowy city.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very familiar for me. But sitting in the darkness in a pitch black room with almost like sensory deprivation tank level, no
Mm-hmm.
light, no sound. Um, yeah, that's consciousness. That's surrender work. Like, how can you sit in darkness and know that you'll know when to move? How can you
Mm-hmm.
sit in the darkness of your mind and know when to say, when to think? Um, yeah, it's beautiful when things are quiet. Like, yeah, I feel like even in this conversation, like my head is very quiet, even though I'm talking a lot.
Mm-hmm. That's so beautiful. It's actually an honor to hear someone say that. Like, oh, in this podcast space, it's very, very special to me. Um, I understand that in my own way. Um, yeah, this bit reminds me of like this something that I wrote a little while ago, but it's like the practice of seeing in the dark,
Mm.
seeing yourself in the dark. We, waiting for the outward illumination of light, always to see ourselves and see ourselves. And it's really, using the projections of others and, validation of others and the whole keeping up appearances bit that you brought in earlier and that kind of thing. And, but yeah, sitting in a dark room, sometimes literally, but we
Yeah.
could say figuratively, but like literally, like, who am I? And do I care about that I, capital? Or can I dissolve into it? You know, um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It has to be astrological, but I can be a very heady person. I was gonna say as an
Mm.
Aquarius, but I can be very heady, and there's a lot of thoughts up there. So that light language bit you brought in, and then this part of the conversation, I'm like, yeah. There's parts of my being that I'm like that, almost like inherent technologies that help me to work with the things because the
Mhm.
mind is strong and it can be really a gift, to have a strong mind in that way, but then also like giving it a break so it's not overused. But yeah, in terms of just the whole conversation, I really am finding that your voice, this conversation feels very spacious to me, and it feels like a transmission. I'm really curious how everyone is going to receive it, in different ways and everything. But there's something really special about getting to have long form conversations with people
Mm.
and just really listening to each other and seeing where it goes. And there's not a plan, you know. And in a way, I kind of feel like this space is a really great meditation for life.
Mm.
And with what you were sharing, I'm connecting it to what you were sharing about. You're just going to listen for that next piece on how to act.
Yeah. Yeah. And the default state of the mind is actually quiet when it feels safe. When the body feels safe, the mind has nothing to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So I've really connected those two like somatically of like if I physically am safe, I have nothing to think about. Like I
Mm-hmm.
literally mean that because
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, my heart feels good. I feel my legs, I feel my shoulders, like doing body scans. And that has guided me a pretty long way, as well as really just unpacking beliefs around I have to worry all the time, I have to control everything all the time, I have to get it right, I have to have the standard of perfection in the background. This is all like subconscious noise to me
Yeah.
of things to worry about, frustrations, resentment, anger, like
Mm-hmm.
anything that feels prickly internally is honestly just bullshit. Like the life doesn't exist for my comforts.
Mm-hmm.
uh like life doesn't
Mm-hmm.
exist for my wants. Life doesn't care about my wants. It's like this is it. This
Yeah.
is the privilege. This is what we've been waiting for. Is this exact moment.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable and sitting in discomfort and um I think being in that space for a long time in the past has shown me and has reminded me that it doesn't have to always be that way. So it's like I'm surrendering, but I know it's impermanent. And I think a lot of people forget that it's impermanent.
Mm. Yes.
It's like
Yes.
they're like, oh, I'm just an angry person. I'm just a frustrated person. I'm like, no, you're actually like it's actually just pretty quiet up there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like you really just have to coach yourself through it, and it's not easy at all, but you can coach yourself to peace. You can coach yourself to a way of being that's like an exhale.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to be on guard all the time. And it is an incredible amount of work. It's, you know, it's nearly a decade of work for me. And
Mm-hmm.
just knowing that it's possible to have that level of profound peace internally means that it's worth it, you know, and you don't have to over identify with it, you know, the
Love that.
pain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I love what you said. It's very quiet up there for me because I feel really good. I feel really safe. I just the way that you've put it is it's really simple and simplistic, and I think that that's a message that a lot of us can really absorb and take inside and work with in our own internal coaching because, yeah, I think that there's a lot of over complication with different things. You know, I'm not saying that I'm not invalidating anybody's experience, but I think that I know from my own experience, I've overcomplicated certain things, getting too entangled and wrapped up in my ego and my identity and this feeling and why am I feeling this feeling? And it's just like you're feeling the feeling, Vanessa. It's okay.
Yeah. And trauma.
And trauma.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. The trauma of I have to worry all the time because I don't trust this world. I don't trust the people around me to take care of me. I don't trust that people
Mm-hmm.
are supporting me. That's its own type of trauma, is causing the nervous system to feel on guard and therefore causing yourself to think all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and through the breath, you can do that type of internal coaching of taking yourself through letting go of worrying all the time. Like, breathe in so deeply, breathe so slowly that you're like, oh, this isn't real. You know, you can
Yeah.
take yourself even through the Byron Katie questions of, is this true? How do I know it's true? What
Yes.
happens when I believe this thought?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, doing the work that way with interrogating your mind very lovingly, very compassionately, very tenderly,
Mm-hmm.
creates its own type of openings into a new way of being. Um, and the breath is your friend. It's always with you. You can always go into a closet at work for 2 minutes and breathe. You
Mm-hmm.
can't tell me I don't care what type of job you have. You can't tell me you can't find a room at work where we can just stop the show for 2 minutes and breathe, you know,
Mm-hmm.
before lunch, after lunch, before going into a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You can create that sacred time for yourself to coach your body down so your mind isn't thinking so much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I have not, I had to do it today. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely not speaking from a place of I have it all together.
Right.
I'm speaking from the space of I have really great tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you, and I really resonate with what you're saying. I think that's it. What you said was life does not exist for my comfort. Is that how you said it?
Yeah.
Wow. Can we like get that like, in bold, pasted everywhere? Um, but no, I mean I really mean that. I think it's really, really significant and special to remember that. And then this piece of I can coach myself to peace, those two things together, seemingly opposite, I think can become a really beautiful marriage of
Yeah.
of self acceptance and understanding,
Mm, absolutely.
and not only self acceptance, but like accepting in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Acceptance. Yeah. Um, I'm so grateful. I remember in thinking of like this conversation with you, I was just like, the only two words I got are gratitude and surrender. That's the only thing
Hmm.
I got for sure. Um, I think we are constantly taking it for granted. We're taking everything for granted. I think it's very important to be very, very close to death, to the grieving process. It's very, very important because it causes you to be in even more gratitude for the people, for the experiences. Like I I I just love it so much. I just think life is so beautiful and it's so precious right now and also scary right now and the world is on fire right now. Um, but I know within me that at least my ripple is holding so much gratitude and love for every little, you know, piece I can impact.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's all I got.
That's all.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful piece. Um, well, thank you so much. I feel like it feels like a natural conclusion piece here. I think that I need to listen back to this episode. You know, it's like wow, it's really special to me, and it's really good medicine for this time of whatever this time is, this thing that we're doing in the world together. And yeah, I'll connect you, of course, in the show notes with all of the things and maybe any last things that you want to share before we officially pop off.
Um, yeah, I think trusting that time is moving through you is just coming up for me now.
Mm.
I just want to invite people to just slow down, to give themselves as much time as they need, uh, to give themselves a sacred pause, a time to create and to really see clearly through the fog, whatever that may be in their life. Like, this is really the time of year in which we should be slowing down. So I just want to encourage that for people.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you for being here. Everyone, go connect with Liana and go follow her. Go get on that, listening to that writing, listening to the messages. My gosh, it's so beautiful. Do whatever you want. I'm not telling you what to do. I just know it's been great for me. Anyway, okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.